Hello everyone, I'm Watson Huang, or just Huang, and this is my sign name. You do a debut, and then you place it on the side of your mouth and go upwards and downwards, touching your face. Right. Somewhere on your screen, you will see João Guilherme. He will be translating this talk from English into Libras, the Brazilian Sign Language. And thank you all for coming and watching this presentation. So, what will be the topics I will cover in this presentation? I have 5 topics. First of all, I will show you what is the current version of Letra Sinal, what you can do with it, where you can go to access it. Second, I will talk a bit about the reasoning behind the creation of Letra Sinal, the challenges I had and the ones I have today. First, the future. The future I have in mind for Letra Sinal. What do I want to do with it? 5, I will do a bit of a dev talk. And that's it. So let's start. First thing I will do is to walk you through literacy now. I'm going to share my screen. Right. Right now you will see localhost, but currently literacy now is accessible by going to literacynow.com. I will not use the online version because it is in Portuguese, not in Portuguese per se, but in my computer, it will be in Portuguese. Letracinal today is smart enough to recognize your local language and translate the website to that language. As of now, I have not implemented a button where you can click on it and change the language. It all works automatically. And if Letracinal doesn't know how to translate everything to your language, it will default to English. Okay, let me go back to the English version. Right, this is the home page, the current home page. As you can see, it has a warning up here. It is saying that your data will not be saved online. Currently, Literacy Now, it's only front end. It only has the interface for the user to interact with it. It is not sending up any data to the cloud. So anything you do will be saved on your computer, more specifically on your browser local storage. So for example, Chrome has profiles. So you can see I have a bunch of them here. And if I change my profile, my data will also change. So I will not be able to reach, for example, the data from profile 1 into profile 2. This is just a temporary implementation. In the future, DataSenal will be able to send data up to the cloud, and then you will have a user for you to access your data anywhere you want from any device you want, right? So well, I have no document here, so I'm gonna create one by clicking on this button down here. Now I have a page, and well, what do I want to do? I have a text I want to write here. So let's start. Currently, Literacy Now have the option of pulling sign from sign button. So as you can see, I can either click here or use a keyboard shortcut. This shortcut here is specific to macOS system, but if you are using a Windows, it will show you another set of shortcut. So for me, it is Control, Command, and P. For you, if you are using a Windows, it will be Command, Alt, P. So let's do it. Let's use this keyboard shortcut and see what happens. I'm gonna click on the page again, hit Control, Command, P. Well, so what I want to write? Well, I want to write the Libros version of a text. So let's type it here. First of all, I want to say Libros. Let's try to find the best sign for it. You are seeing the sign changing. I am doing it by clicking on the arrow down key. You can also go up. So let's try to find the best sign for Libros. I like this. Libros, and I want to write hello. in Portuguese. Also, my side, I want to introduce myself. I like this one. And my sign is Madison. I have previously registered my sign in Sign Puzzle. So if you haven't, I recommend you to go there and register your sign so that you will be able to pull it from there and add it to your text. Madison and I, let's find the best sign for I like this. I am mm, a developer, right? Now, nice to meet you. Oh, uh, you. I like this one. Right. Well, I want to add some punctuations here. So, for example, here I want to add a semicolon. I'm gonna add a space here. Now I want to add an exclamation mark. The things I'm doing it using the keyboard. So if I press space, I'm gonna have a space up there. If I press dot or exclamation mark or quotes or parentheses, they all will show up on the page right behind the current, or in this case, right on top of the current. Okay, I left it this way because, well, every sign language will be using the same symbol actually for exclamation marks, dot, parentheses, and so on. It is part of the sign writing shutdown system. Okay, this is my sign, space here, one is some. I'm gonna add a comma here. I am a developer. I'm gonna add a full stop here. Now, nice to meet you in the exclamation mark. I like it. Now, I want to do this very same text in ASL. So let's create another page. So I'm gonna go in insert, and I can see I also have a shortcut to add a new page. I'm gonna use it. So it is for me, a Mac user, a command return. So I'm gonna click on the page, and I'm gonna hit command return. I have a new page here. Let's write it in ASL. So I'm going to change the dictionary to USA, United States, dictionary US, apply. So ASL, ASL, hello. I like this one. Hello, my, yeah, I like this one. My sign, name, the name is Wallison. Um, I let me change this to exact word. So I I work as a developer. Right, let's try to look for any part of the world. The success, well, since the developer side, I believe is the same both in Libras and ASL. I'm gonna use the Libras version. Now, in detail, LitraSynal is constantly learning about you and it will try to save as much results as it can. So, every sign you guys are seeing up here, they were pulled from Sign Button. I am using the Sign Button 3 API, which is a way of my application connect the Sign Button 3 and pulling some data from it, right? But do I want to do that every time I search for the same sign. No, I don't. That's why Literacy Now, every time you press enter or just click on a sign to add it to the page, Literacy Now will store it in your browser, in your local storage. So my sign, it is not being pulled from sign bundle anymore. Since I have already used it, it is being pulled from my computer. So it is gonna save resources, and that means it will be faster because you will not have to wait for it to go to sign bundle and then go back. It will instead go into your own computer and pull the sign from there. Nice, isn't it? Okay, so where was I? ESL. Hello, my site names is Wallison. I work as a developer, but I'm gonna use the Libre sign. So desenvolvedor. That's it. Now, nice. I like this one. Nice to meet you. Hmm, you, this one. Awesome. So let's format this text. ASL space, hello, exclamation mark. My sign name is Wallison, and I work as a developer. Mm, okay, go back. Developer, nice to meet you. That's it. Now, what if I wanted to do this, but from left to right? Well, it is as easy as going into format in the top bar, selecting left to right. Since I was with this page active, the text changed only here. So yes, you can have both writing directions in the same document. I'm gonna do the same up here. So I click on the page, you can see the color is active here. Now I'm gonna left to right. That's it. So what about the space? What if I want to see the space or the tabs? Let's see, let me add some tabs here. Yeah. Now, let's visualize them. I'm gonna go into view and click show non-printable characters. Voila, you can see I have a bunch of spaces here and also some tabs. So I'm gonna delete the tabs. Let's see down there. Okay, I also have a bunch of spaces here. Right. Let me go back to my preferred direction of writing top to bottom and down here, top to bottom. Right. I don't want to see the spaces anymore. All right. Now, what if I want to go to the next column? That is two ways. There are two ways of doing it. The first one is to keep adding signs until you get to the next column. The second one is to use the spaces to go to the next column. Let me do it here. All right. The next column, as you can see. Currently, I have not been able to implement what I call break flow. Break flow is what we do when we are writing some text. Um, Let me see if I can find a way to show you an example. Okay, let me go to Google Docs, create a new doc. So what I call break flow is the component that does this. Let's say I have a text here and I want to go to the next line. I can hit return for Mac or enter for Windows. And voila, I am in the second line. Currently, the future functionality to do this in Literacy Now is under development. So it is not going to be shown in this presentation, but as soon as I implement it, I'm going to share with you through the sign writing mail list. So if you have not subscribed to it yet, please do it. Or I will be sharing with you through an Instagram. profile. I will create 4 letters now yet. And when you guys see this video, it may be already created, and I will link it in the description below the video or in the comments. So stay tuned. Right. The brick flow, it will work for both top to bottom and left to right. And right now, if you try to use it by hitting for Mac, Return, or for Windows, Enter, you will see this. Functionality in development. The line column break character has not yet been implemented. This is my way to let you, possible users, to know the functionality you are trying to use is under development so that you will be up to date about with how literacy now is progressing. Right. Okay. So you can see up here, the document has no title, no personalized title. Let's change it. Let's see, I'm writing symposium 2024. Letra sinal and attempt at a Google Docs for sign writing. Hit enter, saving. If I go back, I'm gonna see it here. I can also rename it from here. So let's remove the second part. Leave just this. Rename. The name was changed. As you can see, every change I do in the pages, they are saved automatically to local storage. But if you are not sure it was actually saved to local storage, you can press Ctrl Command S or Ctrl Alt S. It will save your changes. This may change when you guys see this video. So yeah, stay tuned for any video or any email in the Simon Writing mail list. I will be keeping you all up to date with the web application with this text editor. Right? So this is it for the demonstration. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Now, the reasoning. Well, I guess as any user of Simon Writing Photon, um, I am an avid user of Sign Puzzle too. It is good to register signs and to build them to see what authors have written down, etc. But currently, it doesn't have a way for you to write a full document to write just as you would do in the Google Docs. Well, we also have the Lex, a German web application that is also a text editor for sign writing, but the problem is the Lex is written from left to right, and we Brazilians we use this from top to bottom, so the Lex doesn't actually solve our problems, but it does indeed have a great interface, and literacy now will be copying some of them. We'll be modeling some of its um, interfaces, user experiences in the likes, right? So I tried to do something before. Um, for example, let me show you some of the applications I tried before. Just to give you a bit of a context, I became a software developer 2 years ago, almost, and I wasn't really good at it. So I had to practice a lot, and songwriting was a motivation for me because I really wanted to give back to the community by building something to make their lives better. So first thing I did was how hard this to build an application using songwriting. First thing I did was this. Let me share my screen again. This is the very first version of Literacy Now. Very simple. Let me hit play. Let me skip a bit. Right? As you just saw, it was a pretty simple version. You could use both Latin alphabet and silent writing side by side. Yep, it was a really simple version, and it was what gave me the idea of building something way more complex as literacy now is today. And also, I tried one more thing. Let me share my screen again. I tried a Google Calendar. As you may have inferred, I'm a really big fan of Google, so that's why I'm always trying to build something that really looks like what I have the same feel as their applications. So this is a Google Calendar. It is in Portuguese. I can change it to Libras. I can create events. So let's try to create one. Hmm, actually, let me go back to Portuguese. Wait, one, something. Let me get some FSW. Yeah, I like this. But save. Back then, I wasn't aware of how to use reactivity systems, the ones you use to refresh the page upon any changes. So that's why I refreshed the page. You can see now I have something event happening today, and I can change it to Libras. These are the signs I pasted there as a formal sign writing or FSW. Right? This was my second application using signwriting, right? So, um, moving on, I also talked about creating a Google Docs extension to use signwriting within Google Docs itself, but I wasn't able because nowadays signwriting needs SVG to be on the web, and Google Docs currently doesn't support signwriting. That's why I moved on to create a full application mimicking Google Docs, enabling some of its features and, well, supporting signwriting. Now, what about the challenge I had? The challenges were mainly related to UI user interface, what the user should see on the screen. Second one, user experience. Second writing is this year, 50-year-old, but it doesn't have that many applications, which means it doesn't have that many designs for us to look at, try to copy, or try to improve. I tried to look for some of the implementation applications usage of signwriting on the web. I could find Signpuzzle, the links, the Wikipedia for ASL and signwriting itself. I found some other more applications throughout the web, but most of them were simple in terms of designs. They were mainly focused on the spoken language alphabet and not on sign writing itself. Right, so it is a bit hard to develop without having some models to, well, model from. And that's why I really want to thank the deaf community, the Brazilian deaf community, because they have been giving me a lot of feedbacks on what to do with literacy now. And my third challenge, automatic pagination. It is not strictly related to sign writing, but Well, it is one of my challenges. The first one is break flow. The two last ones, they are not, again, related to songwriting. They are related to my knowledge of how to build a web text editor, right? So they are not big challenges, and I have to credit them, not them, the ease of using songwriting to Steve Levinsky. I'm sorry if I have pronounced your name incorrectly. So since the creation of Silent Puzzle 2, Steve has been doing a great job in providing information on how silent writing is used on the web. And he, if I'm not wrong, in 2019, he built a library which for non-developers is a code you can get and use in your own application. He built that library and I am using it in literacy now. And if it were not for that library, I would take a lot more time to develop anything using songwriting. And well, I would not be lost if I hadn't that library because Steve also made sure that we had some documentations about how to maybe convert FSW to songwriting on the web. So many thanks to Steve. And now, what about the future of literacy now? Well, for the short term, for the short future, for the month to come, I will be refactoring it. I will be fine-tuning some of the features we already have, and I will be again collecting feedback from the Brazilian deaf communities. And if anyone outside of Brazil wants to give me some feedback, feel free to do so. You will be seeing my LinkedIn, my email, somewhere around here. And or just drop a comment below the video in the Signwriting Sultan YouTube profile channel. I'm sorry. I will read them all. Uh, right after that, I will be working on making Literacy Now a product. That doesn't mean I'm gonna be charging for everything. No, I have the intention of making it freemium, which is a way of having both free and premium features in the same applications. So the basics to write a document, to write a document, to write the text, to have it saved on the cloud, etc. I will try to keep it free. And as for the other features, I will make them paid. I don't have a list of what will be free and premium yet. Aside of that, I will be trying to implement some things. For example, I will try to implement tables for silent writing. I try to implement lists, headings, subheadings, a lot of things we have in the Google Docs. I'm gonna try to get them and add them to Literacy Now for to use silent writing as a complete system as it is. Yeah, also one of the features I want to share with you is, or two actually. First one, I will be copying the lags user experience of adding sign to the page. Let me share my screen again. The lags or the lags, I don't know how to pronounce this correctly. You can do it by opening the application, hitting any word like OE, then you can click on Shift and the forward back bar. You're gonna have another box here and you can add anything you want. For example, I don't know, hola. I'm writing in Portuguese because as you can see on my right side here, I'm pulling the sign from the Brazilian dictionary, right? But you can do it in any other language. The Lex has a um, nice selection here, right? I will copy this so that the user will not have will not be mandated to hit a shortcut to open this small dialog box here and to write their sign to the page. Second one is, mm, wait, let me stop sharing my screen. Second one is the feature of being able to add a full text to literacy now. Uh, at once and it will be converted into signs. So if I had a text in Portuguese and I paste it in Letras Sinal, it would be converted to signs. I will also implement that. The Lex has that user experience and well, I really like it. So I'll be importing it to Letras Sinal. And thanks to João Paulo for recommending that to me. Right. For non-developers, this is it for this presentation. Thank you for staying up to this point. And well, I hope you will like Letras Sinal. Send me any feedbacks you have. Now, what's the dev talk? Into the small talk. I just wanted to share some challenges I had. But first of all, let me share with you the stack of Letras Sinal. International is built upon the same stack as Sign Bundle 3. As you can see here, I got this diagram from HBish, a presentation Steve did back in 2016, the last symposium. You can scan this QR code here to get to that video, or just go to YouTube and search for this, right? Also, writing is built using TypeScript, Vite, and Vue.js. Since I am using Vue.js, I'm also using Vuetify, which is a component library, and this is helping me to get some out-of-the-box component instead of being mandated to create them all from scratch. Also, I am using SignWriting web component. This is where Steve is shining. He built this library back in 2019, if I'm not wrong, and it has been stable since then. It is stable since then. You can see the library by scanning this QR code down here. You will be taken to Steve Levinsky GitHub profile, and in there you will see a lot, and I mean a lot of libraries of to help you use sign writing on the web. It has a really good documentation. I really recommend you guys to go through all of it to clear your doubts. And if that is not enough to clear your doubts, you can go to Jitter or Gitter. I'm not sure how to pronounce this, sign writing community. Steve had been volunteering his hours on the Saturdays. I forgot the time, but you can scan this QR code, go there and read the messages, leave some messages, share your doubts. You will be in contact not only with Steve, but with a lot of other developers working with sign writing on the web, with artificial intelligence and many other projects. I don't have any idea that is out there. It is surprising how many projects people are working on these days. Really awesome. The community is getting bigger by the day, and I hope with this video you will also join us. Right? This is the stack. Now, the other thing I wanted to share with you is how to use the signwriting web components with Vue. I found some, um, I struggled a bit to connect them both. So let me share with you how I did it. Let me go to the code. This is my index.html. If you have not used a framework so far, this is not going to make much sense to you. So I'm going to try to explain a bit. Index.html is the file the framework will be using as a reference, because when you use a framework, it helps you to write robust applications, and in the end, it will take uh, all the code you have just wrote, and then it will convert it to code you can actually put on the web, on your server to serve to the users. And this index.html will be part of the final bundle. By bundle, I mean a set of HTML, JavaScript, and CSS codes generated by the framework. Yep, so I had to add this tag here, script. I had to make it type module and write these lines here. I tried to use some of the links in the documentation we Steve produced to us. but I wasn't able to use them. After some debug, I landed on this link. It is working so far. What it is doing is it is pulling the library from a CDN network, CDN network. CDN is stand for Content Distribution Network, if I'm not wrong. For you that is not experienced with CDN, let's imagine we have a lot of servers around the world. Let's think a user from Germany want to access LetraSenal. Currently, LetraSenal is based in Brazil, so it will take quite some time for LetraSenal code to reach Germany. How can I ease that? How can I make it faster? What if I had a set of servers along the way, or just in Germany, that I could store LetraSenal code in there so that the next time the user would try to get LetraSenal content, they would not need to come to Brazil, get the code, and then go back. But instead, they could just reach a server closer to time to get the code from LetraSenal. Well, that's why CDN exists. That's how we can make it faster, and that's what I am using to get the signwriting library. Right. This was not the only thing I had to do. Since I am using Vue with Vite, Vite is the bundler, is the one that will get all the code and compile it and make it shorter by minify it, by converting TypeScript to JavaScript, etc. To it will make the final bundle. So for Vite, I had to add this. I had to ask uh, Vue to ignore some custom elements that start with FSW. Now, let me use other words. So invite, I'm gonna say, hey, for Vue, do not try to parse the component that starts with FSW as Vue component. Instead, just ignore them, right? Why is that? If I don't do it, Vue will try to treat FSW component as its own, and it is not going to work because Vue doesn't have any context about how to parse, how to use those components, right? And this works just fine. Now, you have to be aware of some things. I just learned it recently. It was breaking my application halting out page, so I couldn't do anything once it happened. What was happening? Vue has a component called teleport. Teleport, as the name may suggest, it takes a component, an element from the DOM tree and move it as well into DOM tree. If it is a component handled by Vue, nothing will go wrong because Vue will know, oh, this is this component. I'm gonna move it to somewhere else, and I will still know what to do with it. But it is not the same thing with FSW components. So if I try to use FSW component within a teleport component, it will not work. Vue will try to make it work, but it will have no idea of what component that is and where to read what it should do with it. So just be aware of that. I am letting you know that because uh, Beautify has some components that uses teleport under the hood. For example, component, it may not work, and overlay, the overlay actually also dialog. If you try to use FSW components within any of those, it will not work and you will halt your entire page, break the application completely. So yeah, take care. And that was it. I have shared with you my struggles with Vue and how to go past them, and also how you can get the components to use signwriting on the web. where you can get it from, also how you can stay in touch with other signwriting developers. That's it. If you had any doubts, if you should start or not an application you're signwriting, a web application specifically, fear not, you are not alone. You can reach out to me, to Steve, or go into the Jitter or Gitter. I forgot the word for, okay, Hate Social. I'm gonna leave it in the subtitles. Yeah, and talk to all of us. We will do our best to help you. And thank you for staying up to this point. And I want to thank some other people. First of them is my wife, because I have been devoting my nights to literacy now, and she has been really patient and encouraged me a lot to go through with it. Also, I want to thank Valerie and Steve for building this amazing system and making and doing their best to provide everything we need, not only the system but the information to connect all of us through the symposium or the mail list or the Facebook group or you know everything they do. Thanks a lot. Also, I want to thank Carlos Christian. You may know the guy. He's always in the mail list because he is a avid content creator, especially related to writing. He has a writing course. If you are interested, just go to his YouTube channel. You will be seeing a QR code somewhere here on the screen. I also want to thank João Paulo. He's a um, Brazilian deaf author, so he has written his thesis using Simon writing. It's a it's an amazing work. I'm gonna leave a QR somewhere on the page also for you to check it. It has a lot of different things I had never seen. For example, he made a table using Simon writing and many other design features that will be for sure working to implement in literacy now. And he's also encouraging me a lot. Lastly, but not least, João Guilherme, the interpreter you will see somewhere on the screen. He has been also helping me with the designs and giving me a lot of feedbacks on how to develop things. And yeah, thank to everyone else, especially the Brazilian deaf community. I am in two WhatsApp groups, and whenever I post anything about literacy now, asking for feedbacks, they promptly give me some. Also, they produce a lot of books. Last year, if I'm not wrong, they released and published actually 4 to 5 books, ranging from children to religious books. Pretty awesome. So keep it up, guys. And yeah, thank you all.